Let's talk to Security Minister Tom Tugendhat, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning. Do we think that diplomatically the Prime Minister can, I don't know, achieve more than President Biden has?
Well, look, I think this is part of a team effort, frankly. And the UK's voice has always been an important one in the Middle East. President Biden, of course, has a very powerful message to send. But the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary are out in the region at the moment, and they are carrying Britain's message, which is working for a peaceful solution, working for a peaceful resolution, and trying to support all those in the region who need our support. And that's why he's made that commitment to aid into the Palestinian areas. And as you know, there are now reports that the Rafah crossing will be open very shortly, we hope.
Although we have been reporting that, has to be said, 4 days, and I'm sure there will be continued stress on that to happen. But I think Biden claiming that as a success of his visit perhaps might be a bit premature. I just want to ask you, we heard very much that Biden was happy to accept Israel's version of events of what happened with the Al Ali hospital in Gaza City the day before yesterday. What's the British position on this? Because we're awaiting British intelligence to confirm our own assessment of what happened. And of course, the fact in all of this, absolutely crucial.
Well, look, you know that the first thing to say about this is it's an extraordinary human tragedy. A number of people lost their lives, and a service that was there to support Palestinians in a moment of extreme need has been removed from them. So that's the first thing to mention is to be extremely clear that this is a human tragedy. The second is, look, I've been speaking to our intelligence services over the last 24, 48 hours. And as you can imagine, I'm trying to get to a very clear picture on this. And until we've got that clarity, I'm not going to be saying anything because, as you've put it quite rightly, wild speculation over the last few days and the careless rush to headlines has led to some very, very unwise comments being made by organisations and individuals who frankly should have known better. And we've seen an awful lot of this as a sort of a reputational cost. It's much more than that. It's not just a reputational cost. The reality is President Biden was expected to meet Arab leaders who felt unable to continue with the meeting because of what was reported. We've seen community tensions here in the UK grow because of what was reported, and we've seen a synagogue burnt in Tunisia because of what was reported. And it now turns out, and in fact, better research at the time could have suggested, that the reports were at best speculative and at worst malicious.
Forgive me, but are you saying that the increase in tensions that we've seen in this country and others is a result of what the BBC did?
I'm saying that speculation at various different points can lead to an increase in tension, and certainly everybody is very emotional about this. There are many different people are very emotional and quite rightly are feeling very alert because of the events in the Middle East. And fanning those flames helps nobody.
So important as well in a diplomatic crisis. And I was just looking through what the Prime Minister was saying as he was setting off to Israel last night, saying every civilian death is a tragedy and too many lives have been lost following Hamas's horrific act of terror. Is that an implicit criticism of Israel in there, saying too many lives have been lost following on from Hamas's atrocities?
I think we've got to recognise that the first victims of Hamas are the Palestinian people. We've seen people in Gaza over the last 30, 40 years, not just murdered when Hamas took power in 2008-9, but actually since then being exploited in the most horrific ways. We've seen children being forced to dig these tunnels that sadly have been dug across the entire region. We've seen individuals who have stood against Hamas in various different ways being murdered. And we've seen Hamas literally using the Palestinian people in Gaza as their own, as their own workforce for their evil jihad. Now, this is simply unacceptable. And if you want to stand with the Palestinian people, I'm afraid that means you're very clearly standing against a terrorist organisation like Hamas.
What do we do in terms of what is happening here in the UK? As you say, tensions are rising, there have been protests, they've been largely peaceful, it has to be said, but we've got to be on some higher alert, haven't we? Especially when the boss of MI5 is raising the idea that there could be Iranian-backed attacks or Iranian-inspired attacks in the UK.
So Ken McCullum has been very clear for a long time now that Iranian activity in the United Kingdom has been at best deeply unhelpful and at worst actively threatening. And it has been a problem now for a number of years. And what he has done and what police officers have done is close down Iranian actions here in the UK, and I'm very proud of their work. He also warned, quite rightly, about Chinese espionage inside the United Kingdom. And again, we've been working to close down those routes and those avenues extremely quickly. What he's also, though, pointing to is the fact that tensions around the world can increase tensions at home and can lead to radicalisation. And that's really a matter for JTAC, the Joint Terrorism Analysis Cell, because what they'll do is they'll look at the various different feeds, the intelligence feeds, the police feeds, the community feeds that they have, to make sure that we are postured correctly to respond. And that's where I'm not going to get involved in that, because it's quite clearly a very technical decision. But what I am doing is keeping a very close eye on it and making sure the right questions are being asked.
The briefest of answers, if you will, about 30 seconds, and a tough ask with what I'm going to ask, but we do have 9 British people missing, thought to be hostages in Gaza, and a number of British citizens as well, including Hamza Yousaf's relatives. I see the Foreign Secretary is in Qatar, among other places. Are we negotiating with terrorists?
Look, the British government is engaged in talks around the region to support British citizens, including those who are sadly taken hostage and some who are in Gaza at the moment, either as like Hamza Yousaf's parents-in-law who are trying to leave. And we're trying to do our best for British citizens in various different ways. That's what the Foreign Secretary is doing.
OK, Tom Tugendhat, Security Minister. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.